The best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear. This is Harmless Luminescence! Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome to Harmless Luminescence, the very special patron-only holiday podcast on the Harmless Entertainment Network. We are going to break down some of what we consider to be some of the most timeless and treasured holiday movies. We're going to tell you all about their backstories, the people who made them, and why we feel they can bring a little bit of extra cheer to your holiday season. I'm your co-host, Cotton-Headed Ninny Muggins, Andrea Martinez, Cece.
And I am your co-host, Josh Cece, and I want to make shoes.
That's right, everyone. Get yourself a heaping bowl of spaghetti and syrup, because today we are talking about 2003's Elf.
Hi.
Your costume is pretty.
Oh, it's not a costume. I'm an elf.
Oh.
Well, technically I'm a human, but I was raised by elves.
New Line Cinema presents the story of one elf who's coming home for Christmas.
Boy, can't wait to see my dad. We're gonna go ice skating and eat sugar plums.
Never had a sugar plum.
Now,
I think someone sent you a Christmas gram.
Dad! We should call security.
Good idea.
I like to whisper too.
Buddy's experiencing a world he never knew existed.
Buddy's your son. What am I gonna do? He's certifiably insane.
Discovering what it takes to fit in. And going where no elf has gone before.
What he needs is to be nurtured. Bring him home. Introduce him to Emily and Michael.
How long do you think you'll be with us?
I was thinking, like, forever.
He cannot stay here.
You can't just throw him out in the snow.
He loves the snow. He's told me 15 times.
Ow! Son of a nutcracker!
We can take him. Where did you say you were from?
This holiday season,
I think you're beautiful, and my tongue swells up when I am around you.
get ready
I planned out our whole day. I thought maybe we could make gingerbread houses and maybe even hold hands.
for a tall tale
How are we going to get the star on top?
of elfish proportions. I got it. Will Ferrell,
Okay, people, Santa's coming to town. Oh my God! I know him.
Elf,
Do you remember me?
You do, I didn't recognize
I know. I'm in work clothes. I didn't know you had elves here.
You're hilarious, my friend.
Did you have to borrow a reindeer to get down here?
Hey,
You're feeling strong, my friend? Call me Elf one more time.
I drink and I know things.
He's an angry elf. Look at you.
Okay, so Elf was released on November 7th, 2003. It had a budget of $33 million, and at the box office, it made $220.9 million.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a success.
Yeah, it was an instant classic. So I wanted to do this movie because for one thing, it was sort of an instant classic. Like, I feel like saying you don't like Elf is like saying you don't like puppies.
Right.
And it is sort of one of the more modern Christmas classics. At this point now, it's 16 years old, but
Right.
that's still much newer than a lot of the movies we consider to be holiday classics. The other reason I wanted to do this movie is because I associate this movie very much with our first Christmas together.
Oh. Uh-huh.
So, our first Christmas together was in 2004. So, Elf had just come out on video and DVD. I was going to say DVD, but I'm pretty sure we were still rocking the VHS back then.
I mean, we had one, yeah.
Yeah. Our DVD of this movie, like, even on the menu, includes a button that says help me understand this menu.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, let me explain what DVDs are.
2003? No. Now you can see over here over my shoulder, I have plenty of VHS tapes. I hung on to that, but 2003? I feel like DVD menus should have already been... It wasn't offered in college yet, but I think people would have.
Well, so this is what I remember, is that 2004 was my first experience of a CC family Christmas. You brought me down with you, down to Sarita. Sarita. Can I get a ruling on that? How do you say it?
Well, we all say Sarita, but it's Sawarita.
Yeah.
It's in Sawara, and then it goes from,
So you brought me down there, and so we both come from large extended families. My dad's one of 8, your dad was one of 6. So I had I've always had a large, as far as volume, Christmas. Lots of people, lots of food, lots of noise. But I had not experienced yet the spectacle that was a CC family Christmas, and specifically a CC family Christmas led by your grandma Mimi.
By Mimi.
Yeah. And rest her soul, I only got to experience 2 Christmases with Mimi, but that first one blew my mind.
Yeah.
What I remember is a massive Christmas tree, probably like a 7 or 8 footer, totally enveloped in presents, like inching their way up, like halfway up the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And then presents and cards coming out of the Christmas tree.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah. Like on branches. That was the Christmas that Mimi gave everyone camcorders.
Yeah. Still have it.
It was like Oprah's favorite things.
Yeah.
It was like insanity. And then I learned about what stockings were like in your Christmas world.
Yeah, we do it way different.
Yeah. My whole life, my brother John and I got the same thing in our stocking every year, which was an orange, an apple, Hershey's Kisses, and then a bunch of walnuts and Brazil nuts, which we had never expressed any interest in eating.
Right.
Always gave to my dad, who is the one who put them in there in the first place.
Right.
Your stockings had so they had candy, but then they had hygiene products and clothing items and gift cards and little toys and everything.
Right.
Yeah, it was Christmas magic. It was kind of amazing. And then I also understood why you're so excited about Christmas, because you definitely get that from Mimi.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of that came from her. She loved holidays. Yeah. She did she did Easter's up pretty well as well, but Christmas.
Easter was her big one. There's not a lot of Easter movies for us to do. So.
No, yeah. And of course I loved it as a child, but as I became an adult, I still like to do it, but yeah, I realized that was a bit much. It wasn't the norm.
So I remember that. I remember just, it being very fun. There was a lot going on, but it was, you could tell this was a family that really loved Christmas.
Yeah.
and I got it. I've probably spent the last 15 years trying to achieve a Mimi level stocking at Christmas.
Nobody can.
Yeah.
Nobody can.
But I remember that we also, all at the end of the night, watched Elf.
Yeah.
And that's why that stuck with me.
Yeah, that was Robin's favorite, and it was also Cody's favorite.
Yeah.
And I was gonna wait till the end, but I wanted to dedicate this episode to Cody Cece. He loved
Code
Elf.
Man.
But yeah, so did Aunt Robin.
Yeah.
It was and so did Mimi.
Yeah.
It was a fun one, yeah.
And I remember actually in relation to Elf, I don't remember if it was, I think it was you who gave Robin the little ornament that looks like Herman from Rudolph.
Yeah, because she was a dental hygienist, and that's where he wanted to be.
And he wanted to be a dentist. And then I remember Cody gave you the SNL Best of Will Ferrell that Christmas.
Yeah, I did.
And that was actually, I had just met Cody like 2 weeks before that, even.
Wild.
Yeah. So, we love you.
I love it.
So, that's our story.
Right, yes.
Back to the story of this movie.
Elf.
So Elf was originally written by a screenwriter named David Barenbaum. This is definitely his biggest success, because the other notables I could find that he had were like the Haunted Mansion movie and 2015 Strange Magic, which was an animated feature. He originally wrote this in 1993 as a spec script.
Okay.
With the hopes of it starring Jim Carrey.
Okay.
And Jim Carrey did see it and passed on it. He had other irons in the fire at the time, some big irons, because 1994 saw the release of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Dumb and Dumber, and The Mask. So, yeah, he probably made the right choice there. But all accounts are that original script was very different from the movie we know today. It was a much darker sort of fish out of water story.
Wow.
Yeah. So after it didn't get made in 93, it kind of just like passed around in Hollywood land, got pitched to different studios, different times, didn't get made.
Yeah.
Until it got pitched to Will Ferrell, as he had just left SNL and was looking for projects to do. And then sort of similar to the story we told with Scrooged, Will was kind of like, I like the idea of this, but it needs retooling.
Yeah.
And so it was reshaped, rewritten by these three dudes, Scott Armstrong, Chris Henchy, and Adam Mckay, along with Will Ferrell. Scott Armstrong, at that point, had written Road Trip and Old School.
Oh.
And then would later write The Hangover Part 2. Chris Henchy had been a writer on Larry Sanders Show. He would later write Land of the Lost, The Other Guys, The Campaign, all three featuring Will Ferrell. And he's Brooke Shields' husband.
Huh.
You know?
Somebody's got to be.
And then, of course, along with Will Ferrell, there was who's been considered his writing partner on many projects, Adam Mckay.
Right. They founded Funny or Die.
Exactly. They founded Funny or Die in 2007. So, a little bit about Adam Mckay, because he's one of our great comedy writers, right?
Yeah, yes.
Adam Mckay came out of the Chicago improv scene. He had performed at Improv Olympic and was part of a performance group called The Family, which included Matt Besser and Ian Roberts, who would later go on to found the Upright Citizens Brigade. Yeah, of which Adam Mckay became an early member. He then went on to be on the main stage cast at Second City, and that cast included Tina Fey, Scott Adsit, and Rachel Dratch.
Yes.
He auditioned for Saturday Night Live the same year as Will Ferrell. He didn't make it as a performer, but he got hired as a writer. He remained a writer at SNL from 95 to 2001, including 2 seasons where he served as head writer. Also, while he was there, he encouraged his buddy Tina Fey to submit some scripts and get on the writing cast.
Nice.
Which she did, and that's history.
Yeah. Beautiful, so yeah.
Other movies that he has written with his buddy Will Ferrell are, of course, Anchorman, Talladega Nights, and Step Brothers.
Yeah, oh my gosh, all classics.
And as mentioned before, in 2007, the two launched the website Funny or Die with the awesome sketch Pearl the Landlord, Anna McKay's daughter.
His daughter.
And I guess Chris Henchy was who also was one of the guys who retooled Elf, was also on the ground floor with that. So, And then he's gone on to do a little bit more prestigious things, or garnered some accolades. With 2015, he did The Big Short, for which he got an Oscar nomination for directing an original screenplay, and last year's Vice. What's interesting is that it's well known, well documented, that those four dudes, kind of revamped this entire script. But in the movie, the only person who gets writing credit is David Berenbaum, the original dude.
Wow.
So, I mean, good on him, I guess, for planting the seed. But, yeah.
Right.
But it's widely considered would not be what we saw without those guys. It would also not be what we saw without its director, which is Jon Favreau. Johnny Favs. Jon Favreau is from Flushing, Queens, New York. He moved to Chicago in 1988, also to join the Chicago improv scene. He performed at Improv Olympic and Improv Institute. He got his first break in 1993 when he got cast in a small part in Rudy, where he met the love of his life, Vince Vaughn. That's right. Up next was PCU.
I love PCU.
I love it.
It's so underrated. It's packed full of fantastic actors, but yeah, it's great.
Can you blow me where the Pampers is?
Yeah, of course it'd be so. Or like the chick that's yelling "Free Nelson Mandela," and the guy walks by, he's like, "They already freed him."
Yeah. After PCU, he and Vince moved to LA together, where he got his first screenplay made, which of course was 1996 Swingers, starring both Favreau and Vince Vaughn. After that, he did Very Bad Things. Not bad, like the movie Very Bad Things.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Had a recurring role on Friends, and then in 2001, he directed his first film, which he also wrote, and he and Vince Vaughn also starred in, called Made.
Yeah, it wasn't as good.
Yeah. Then came, this was the first big one, 2003, Elf. He followed up this massive success with 2005's Zathura, A Space Adventure. We all remember that, right?
Zathura. Yeah, I actually do.
Then he produced Dinner for Five on TV.
Right.
Which was great.
Yeah, there was. It looks like I'm supposed to. I've been following. Okay, what was his big? Now he's very much a go-to director.
Yeah, so the big one came in 2006 with Iron Man.
Okay.
The launch of the MCU. In which he directed it and then played the bit part as Tony Stark's driver, Happy Hogan. Then came Iron Man 2, Cowboys and Aliens. He returned to his small movie roots in 2014 with Chef. Then he directed the live-action Jungle Book and most recently the live-action Lion King.
Yeah, he does all kinds of things. It's not one formula.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
He is a Star Wars superfan, and he was on the short list to direct Force Awakens, which then, of course, went to J.J. Abrams. But he was a voice in the Clone Wars, and he was the voice of the character Rio Durant in Solo, A Star Wars Story. Check out Harmless Midichlorians. And he is currently the creator and showrunner for The Mandalorian.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is the man that brought us Baby Yoda.
Yeah, indeed.
So how Elf came to Jon Favreau is actually through Judd Apatow.
Oh, wow.
So Favreau had directed an episode of Undeclared. Great Judd Apatow show. And Apatow actually didn't have anything to do with Elf, but at the time he and Will Ferrell had the same manager. And so he knew that there was this script out there that Will Ferrell was looking at and it needed a director. He knew that Jon Favreau was looking to direct more. Chocolate and the peanut butter.
Gotcha.
They had actually considered Terry Zwigoff to direct it, but he was already tied to Bad Santa, another Christmas movie.
Right. Far out.
So if it could be said that, the guys I mentioned earlier, the Funny or Die guys, took the script and added a lot of humor, lightened it up. What Favreau did was really add in the charm and the heart.
Yeah. Which he's great at doing. Like you said, this was his, first early on, but yeah.
Yeah.
He brings a lot of heart.
Jon Favreau, like you and I, loves Christmas movies.
Yeah.
He is all about it, and he didn't want to just direct a Christmas movie. He wanted to direct a Christmas classic.
Yeah.
He set out with the goal of this being a movie that families would watch together year after year.
Right. Christmas movies are so tricky.
They are.
There are not that many of them to begin with. And the ones that are good are, dare I say, great. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a hard sell.
And there are a lot of them. I mean, like all those like Hallmark ones and ABC Family ones and Lifetime ones. And, yeah. Well, and also like, studios go to the well on it a lot. Of like, they know that there are families who go to movies on Christmas or around Christmas. So they'll just like throw any junk. They'll be like, look at it, Matthew Broderick's in it and there's snow.
Yeah, and well, speaking of Vince Vaughn, like, for example, Fred Claus. Mm-hmm. Like, that didn't capture anyone. No. Christmas with the Cranks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's odd. Yeah. They're either hit or miss. Okay.
So Favreau has a great quote about Christmas movies. He says, Christmas movies are about spirit winning out over cynicism.
Yeah.
That's it.
All of them at their core. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So he read the script and he was like, there's a magic missing. There's something missing. Uh-huh. And his big aha moment was when he thought of, what if I have this take place in the fantastical world created by Rankin and Bass for those Christmas specials? Mm-hmm. And
that was his idea.
That
wasn't in the script?
That was not in the script.
That had been circulating?
No. So, like, all the stuff,
this is an incredible element to this movie.
It's like the whole movie, right?
So, if you take this out and leave in whatever mistakes were there originally, like, what is the movie about? Like, where would it... Yeah. No wonder it didn't get picked up.
Right. Well, some elements, and I'll point some out as we go through the scenes, but one element, for instance, is that, Buddy was raised in a world of elves, and in the original, it was that he was ridiculed and bullied and treated like an outsider, like Rudolph.
It was a pack of feral elves that he was raised by?
Will Ferrell elves.
Oh. Shit. Bringing it.
And Favreau wanted to change that. He said, he had to, Buddy had to have been embraced by the world that raised him. Otherwise, that's why he is so cheerful and so loving and so open when he gets to New York.
Right.
If he, just like he said, spirit winning out over cynicism. Mm-hmm. If he had been raised by, in a cruel environment, he would not go so wide-eyed and innocent.
Right. It's definitely nurture.
Yeah.
The elves. Yeah. So he learned to love everything elf.
So he set out to make it Rankin and Bass style, and he actually did have to get permission to use some likeness. So the likeness on the snowman.
Yes.
And the costumes, which are, as we mentioned.
Yeah, that's Hermes' outfit. Yes.
Exactly.
Which I always thought was cute. That's a neat color scheme. Mm-hmm.
Last element in there is the music. The music is by a composer named John Debney. John Debney. He actually is the son of a classic Walt Disney producer who produced, his dad, Louis Debney, produced Zorro and the Mickey Mouse Club.
Oh, cool.
And so he followed in his dad's Disney footsteps, and he started his composing career by composing music for attractions at Disneyland and the different shows at Disneyland.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. And then some...
What a job.
Yeah, man.
I bet with Disney, there are just like hundreds of jobs like that.
There's so
That
many.
you don't know about or you don't think about. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be like the voice that says, "Permanencer sentados, por favor."
All right.
Like if I could just say that on like one ride, that would be a lifetime dream achieved.
There's no downside because either people are listening and loving it or they're ignoring it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can't lose.
Some films of note that he also did the score for are Disney's Hocus Pocus, Spy Kids, I Know What You Did Last Summer, spooky.
Yeah.
And he was nominated for an Academy Award for scoring The Passion of the Christ.
Oh, boy.
We could do that for our Easter movie podcast.
The Passion Play. I
read the book. I never saw the movie.
Here's one of my tangents. But why people would want to see that, it's just... Can't we just take his word for it?
Okay, so, who starred in this movie? We've been talking about Mr. Will Ferrell quite a bit. I'll give you a little bio.
Genius.
Will Ferrell grew up in Irvine, California. His father, Roy Lee Ferrell Jr., was a keyboardist and saxophonist for the Righteous Brothers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Righteous.
So his dad toured with the band for almost 20 years, and that actually made Will not want to pursue show business. Saw his dad struggle financially, not be consistent and being at home, everything like that. So even though Will liked the idea of performing and was always like the class clown and whatnot, he didn't want to pursue that as a career.
Did he play an instrument? Does he play an instrument?
I don't know. I didn't see that information.
Like, for some reason, I thought drums, but there's drums in Step Brothers, and the guy that looks like him from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, yeah, there's the guy who looks... Yeah,
Chad,
well, in Step Brothers, he only plays drums with his balls.
Right.
That's the only time.
But I'm trying to think of why I associate this. Oh, all right, yeah.
So he, instead, he went to USC and he graduated with a bachelor's in sports information, which I didn't know could be a degree.
I understand sports medicine. I understand. Wow, and what was it called again?
Sports information.
Sports information.
So just you know a lot of stuff about sports.
He was a bookie.
Yeah, that's like trivia. Like, why can't... If he can get a degree in sports information, I want to get a PhD in, television history.
Oh,
yeah.
And that sweet PhD money would be coming.
So after graduating, his mom got him a gift certificate for some acting classes, just for funsies.
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, this is what I want to do."
Yeah.
So he moved.
Where were the classes, at the Groundlings or?
Not yet. They were in Irvine. They were like a community theater in Irvine.
Okay.
So then after those, then he moved down to LA and joined the Groundlings.
All right.
Worked his way up to main stage. And the main stage cast of the Groundlings that he was in included Chris Kattan and Sherry O'Terry.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, while living in LA, he actually worked one time as a department store Santa.
With Kattan, right?
With Chris Kattan as his little elf.
That's awesome.
Which, when we did Year Without a Santa Claus, we learned that Chris Kattan played that elf in that live-action remake.
Yeah. Chris Kattan is a mystery to me.
Because you can't have the mango?
Yeah, I don't know. He's not annoying, but he's not talented exactly. Anyway.
So, obviously, Will Ferrell then joined the cast of SNL. Mm-hmm. He was at Saturday Night Live from 1995 to 2002.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
He made some phenomenal sketches.
So good, yeah. The Butabi brothers is one that he and Catan brought from the Groundlings.
Right.
That was something. But then a memorable one, though, is that, like, sketch after 9/11 where everyone's, like showing their patriotism with their, like, American flag things, and he's wearing, like, the American flag Speedo.
Yeah. Such a Mckay thing. And
Yeah. But that was much further on than I thought. So anyway, he was at SNL. He did a few movies while he was at SNL. He was in Austin Powers. Couple SNL.
I'm still alive.
I'm still alive, but I'm very badly burned.
Yeah, Mustafa or something.
The SNL movies, A Night at the Roxbury and Superstar, and Zoolander.
Oh my God, Zoolander. Pencil is so hot right now.
Old School came out after he left SNL, but he had started filming it before he left. So Elf is officially his first post-SNL movie.
Cool.
And then, you know, we've mentioned some of his great ones. Anchorman, Step Brothers, Talladega Nights. He, you know, it's interesting for the fact that he was shy to get into show business because of being worried about not being financially sound. Because he is considered one of the highest paid comedic actors.
Right.
He got paid tens of millions for Step Brothers, for Talladega Nights. But which you're like, well, those are very good movies, and he did great in those. He also got paid tens of millions of dollars for Bewitched and Semi-Pro and Kicking and Screaming, the non-Noah Baumbach Kicking and
the
Screaming.
soccer one.
Pay attention if you're ordering that DVD, FYI. He has not ever won. He surprisingly did not ever win an Emmy, though he was nominated multiple times. But he has won the Mark Twain Award for American Humor.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
So that's Buddy the Elf. Buddy's love interest in this movie is played by Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah.
We first saw those big Deschanel eyes in Almost Famous, playing the older sister.
Oh, right.
Yeah. She had been in Mumford before that, but Almost Famous was, like, the first, like, you know, featured role that she had. She was in The Good Girl, The New Guy, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Yes Man, and 500 Days of Summer, and then she was the title role of on The New Girl from 2011 to 2018, receiving Emmy Award nominations and Golden Globe nominations. I have never seen an episode of The New Girl.
Yeah, me neither.
I hear it's adorkable. That's what they call it. She also has a music career as she's singing in this movie. She is part of the duo She and Him, which have multiple albums, including 2 very delightful Christmas albums. She plays the keyboards, the drums, the banjo, and the ukulele.
Yeah, for sure. The ukulele.
And she is the daughter of cinematographer and director Caleb Deschanel.
Yeah.
As well as the sister of Emily Deschanel from Bones.
Her dad directed several Twin Peaks episodes.
Bum, bum.
Or was the cinematographer.
Buddy's dad, Papa Elf.
Yeah.
Is played by Bob Newhart.
Yeah, Bob Newhart. I grew up with Newhart. I love him. I think he's really funny. I love his dry and droll wit. Alright. George Robert Newhart, born September 5th, 1929. American stand-up comedian and actor, known for his deadpan and slightly stammering delivery. Newhart came to prominence in 1960 when his album of comedic monologues, The Button-Down Mind of Bob Newhart, became a bestseller and reached #1 on the Billboard pop album charts. Let's see, the follow-up album, The Button-Down Mind, Strikes Back. Wow, pretty hip. Let's see. He later got into acting, starring as Chicago psychologist Robert Hartley in The Bob Newhart Show during the 1970s, and then as Vermont innkeeper Dick Loudon on the 1980s series Newhart.
Or did he?
Dun dun dun.
Because it was all a dream.
Right, with his brother Daryl, his other brother Daryl. Let's see some things he's been in. George and Leo Major, Catch-22, Elf, The Rescuers Down Under. He's been on The Big Bang Theory. He became famous mostly on the strength of his audio releases in which he played a solo straight man. Newhart's routine was to portray one end of a conversation, usually a phone call, playing the comedic straight man. Another comic named Shelley Berman did the same thing, and they both claim to have come up with the idea, so little contentions. Newhart was introduced by Buddy Hackett to Virginia Ginny Quinn, the daughter of character actor Bill Quinn. They were married on January 12, 1963, and the couple have 4 children. Another thing about him is his best friend was Don Rickles, because their wives were best friends. But then, of course, they became best friends. But yeah, I always thought that was neat, because they're not at all alike. Okay.
I wonder what the insults Don Rickles said to Bob Newhart were.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, so that's Bob Newhart, Papa Elf.
So that is his adoptive dad, Papa Elf. In the movie, Buddy's biological father is played by James Caan. Favreau wanted to get James Caan because he wanted sort of the straight man. He wanted someone very serious.
Right.
And so, and a funny story that I heard was that, like, so Caan had to be kind of talked into doing what he considered to be a goofy kind of movie.
Yeah.
And one of the gripes that he had with it was like that he's like, does it have to be called Elf? So yeah, so as a joke, Favreau sent, when he would send him his dailies, his scripts, they would instead say Elk, E-L-K.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about Mr. James Caan.
All right, born March 26, 1940. Let's see, he was in such movies as El Dorado, The Rain People, Brian's Song, Freebie and the Bean, The Gambler, Rollerball. His biggest role, or his breakout role, was as Sonny Corleone in The Godfather. Just the first one, because as we know, Sonny doesn't make it through. Spoiler alert. He was nominated for that. Yeah.
Little story about that, I guess. Favreau and Will, as a rap gift, gave James Caan a copy of the Godfather trilogy DVDs with a note that said, like, the first one's kind of slow, but number 2 and 3 are really good.
Yeah, that's really funny. A little tidbit is his first movie, or barely his first movie, was a Western called El Dorado with John Wayne. Ed Asner was also in that movie.
What?
Yeah. So I think that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, he always plays the tough guy. I read a quote by him where, like, not only was he typecast, but certain people claimed they didn't want to work with him because they thought he was an Italian wise guy.
Right.
He's Jewish.
Right. He's one of those guys, that's a common misconception about him, because he's been in so many mob movies.
Right, exactly. He's like, I don't know why. He's like, I'm Jewish. So that's Jimmy Caan. Oh, he has a son named Scott Caan, who's an actor.
Yeah, he was on Entourage and whatnot.
Yeah, sure.
I think.
Well, and it's weird because I've tried to picture him, and Jake Busey's what comes up in my mind every time I try. So.
His wife in this movie, the character's name is Emily, is played by Mary Steenburgen. So Mary Steenburgen, is an American actress. She won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress and the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress, both for her role in the 1980 film Melvin and Howard.
I never even heard of that.
Yeah, me neither. She had a Emmy Award nomination for the 1988 TV film The Attic, The Hiding of Anne Frank. But other appearances on film include Cross Creek, Parenthood, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
She's so good in that.
Back to the Future Part 3, Philadelphia, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Step Brothers, again with Will Ferrell, The Proposal, and The Help. And then, of course, we love her, playing a version of herself, married to Ted Danson on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
She also did some stints on Orange is the New Black and 30 Rock. She, so as I mentioned, is married to Ted Danson since 1995. Something that I don't know is that, like, so I know that they had kids together, or they have family together. Their kids are not their kids. They're from their previous marriage. Her kids are Malcolm McDowell's kids.
What?
She was married to Malcolm McDowell in 1978. They had 2 kids together and then got divorced. Then in 1995, she met Ted Danson on the set of Pontiac Moon. They got married, and so she had her 2 kids from Malcolm McDowell. Ted Danson had his 2 daughters from his previous marriage to producer Cassandra Coates, and that's their mixed family.
Huh.
I've always heard them, yeah. But I had no idea the whole Malcolm McDowell thing. So, yeah, and she's lovely in this movie. She's lovely anytime she's on screen.
Yeah, she was on 30 Rock. She was so cute and funny on that. She's like, I need to take a shower. The train was filthy. I didn't ride the train, but I saw it from a plane.
I saw a train from first class. Yeah, exactly.
Right, Ed Asner.
Yeah, he plays Santa Claus.
Yeah, which he's done a couple times. He was born November 15th, 29. He was the president of the Screen Actors Guild at one point.
I didn't know that.
He had lots of movies, including El Dorado with James Caan, John Wayne, so on and so on.
Jimmy Caan.
He became more of a household name on the Mary Tyler Moore Show as Lou Grant, the Tough as Nails editor.
You got Spunk, kid.
I hate Spunk.
I hate Spunk.
Then there was a spin-off about Lou Grant called Lou Grant. He's played Santa Claus a few times. He was Carl Fredricksen in Pixar's animated film Up. He's been on CSI New York.
I think the times he played, as far as I remember, so he played Santa Claus on Ellen, on Ellen's old sitcom, and the TV movie All of the Other Reindeer, and one other animated feature. So this was 4 Santa performances altogether.
Cool. He's a member of the Democratic Socialist Party.
There we go.
All right.
Mr. Ed Asner. All right. Well, I would like to introduce us to some new thumbs, because at this point, in 2003, it was no longer Siskel and Ebert. Obviously, Gene Siskel had passed away. So when this was reviewed, this was Ebert and Roper at the movies.
Oh, right, yeah.
Hold on.
It's cool they were able to get Mr. Roper.
From Three's Company. They were, but Ebert had to pretend he was gay.
Right.
Buddy discovers he's human in Elf, starring Will Ferrell. It opens next week. This is an early review. The movie was a complete surprise to me because I expected, frankly, to hate it. And I kind of loved it. A Saturday Night Live refugee and a Christmas comedy didn't sound promising, but Elf is a charmer with a heart and a sense of humor, and it goes on the short list of holiday comedies that I can stand. Buddy goes to New York in search of his real father and wanders into a department store. Santa's coming to town! Oh my God! Of course, being an expert straight from the North Pole, Buddy knows a fake Santa when he sees one.
Kid, you're a fake. I'm a fake? Yes. How'd you like to be dead?
James Caan plays the rich businessman who, to his amazement, has fathered this gigantic elf. Elf was directed by Jon Favreau, who also directed the underrated 2001 comedy named Maid, and here he takes what could have been dreadfully cutesy material and makes it sparkle and surprises. Will Ferrell is lovable, that's really the only word for it, as a relentlessly cheerful bunny who spreads good cheer even in the face of humbugs like James Caan. Mary Steenburgen is sweet as Caan's wife, who is delighted to discover her husband has a son he didn't know about, even if the son is an elf. I walked into this movie with big doubts and found myself grinning a whole lot of the time.
Yeah, it is. There are a lot of grins. It's not a laugh-out-loud comedy, but Favreau is a director and a writer who loves movies. He's sort of like Tarantino with the guns put away. I mean, he likes dialogue and he likes different styles. The stuff at the North Pole kind of funny.
With Swingers? Is that what that reminded you of?
Do you think the Saturday Night Live refugee starred in a Christmas movie? Do you think that was a dig at Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, or both?
Yeah, probably both.
Okay, so here we go. We open on a storybook come to life, and we meet Papa Elf, played by Bob Newhart. He's there to tell us that he is going to tell us a story. He starts off by telling us about elves. We learn...
He's great. Yeah, he just has, I mean, we mentioned earlier a little bit of what he did, but he just has a great tone. I mean, his act was that monotone voice, even on the sitcoms. But something so comforting. I don't know what it is.
It is soothing.
Maybe
right?
it's because those, sitcoms were on in the background a lot. But yeah, it's a very soothing voice. It's good for storytelling.
It's an unassuming tone. And then even in, the ways that he, stutters and is sort of, hesitant in the way he speaks, it still is not nervous, really.
No.
It's so yeah, he starts off by letting us know that there are only 3 jobs for elves. You can be a cobbler while the cobbler is asleep, making shoes overnight. You can make cookies inside a tree.
Yep, the Keebler elves.
Or you can go to what they call the big show, which is Santa's workshop. He explains that elves are perfect for Santa's workshop. They got nimble little fingers and quick minds and lots of energy.
Yeah, good sweatshop material.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some kids in Asia who would appreciate some elves making shoes overnight while they sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, elves run Santa's workshop. They had tried gnomes, they tried trolls, those didn't work out. And he says that humans have never entered Santa's workshop except until one Christmas Eve. And that's the story they're going to be telling. So we see an orphanage.
Yep.
And a nun putting a little baby to sleep. And
tucking him in.
Tucking the baby in. Yeah.
It's not a euthanasia sort of thing.
Oh, putting to sleep. Yeah, you're right. Look, there's a lot of orphans.
Yeah, it did happen.
So Santa comes down the chimney, and unbeknownst to Santa, the little baby crawls into his toy sack.
Which is a cute little premise. There's nothing staggeringly original about it, but it feels fresh, so I don't know how to put it, but it's a cute premise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The baby actors, originally they had,
baby actors. I just want to go on record that that's an oxymoron.
Well,
I don't know, did Rin Tin Tin show up to the Actors Guild dinners that they... The dog is not like having a baby.
the babies they originally had were these twin boys who looked, like they'd grow up to be Will Ferrell. Little toe-headed, curly-headed babies, much like you looked like as a baby.
Yep.
But I guess...
I did look like a 6 foot.
But I
Awkward.
guess those guys were not about their craft, and they were crying and throwing stuff and...
Yeah, being babies?
Yeah, being babies.
Right.
But not the kind of babies they wanted for the film. So,
Yeah, okay, but there's no such thing as a good baby actor. There's a day. Baby actors have good days.
Right, exactly.
It's not like, get Tommy.
You're catching moments when it's being a baby. They call them the hero baby. The baby that is doing what you want it to do on a set. That's the
term?
That's the term, the hero baby.
Yeah, I bet other terms are tossed around, but we'll leave them out of our Christmas podcast.
So the hero baby ended up being these triplet girls with straight brunette hair. Then they ended up playing Buddy. Movie magic. So, Santa gets back to the workshop and, out of his toy sack crawls a little baby. Mm-hmm. They named the baby Buddy because that's what it says on his diaper.
Oh, yeah, because that's the branded diapers?
Yeah, that's the branded diapers. He could have easily been named Pamper or Kroger.
Or Calvin Klein.
Calvin. It says it all over your underwear. And Papa Elf adopts Buddy and raises him.
Because he's childless and, just kind of, he's a tinkerer.
Yeah, he had dedicated his life to his work.
Yeah.
And then there's sort of a little montage of Buddy growing up at the North Pole, believing that he's an elf and being embraced by the elf community despite being much larger than everyone around him.
In the classroom when they're practicing the little elf credo, just when he's done, and then the look he gives that little girl, they both look at each other and they're like, because they got the answer.
They got the answer right.
It's so adorable. He's played so many different kinds of weird ass characters. That's just so endearing. He's so giant.
So all of these shots of Buddy in Elf World, it was really important to Jon Favreau that they don't do CGI and special effects.
Right.
So it was mostly forced perspective. Where, one platform was closer and Will Ferrell was on that, so he looked bigger, and one was further away, with smaller actors.
Right.
So even, where he gives her that little look, he's, 5 feet in front of her.
Right.
And so, there's very little CGI in the whole film. The only things that are CGI are...
the animated characters.
No, not even those. Those are actual claymation.
Oh, all right.
Just snowflakes are CGI, and then Will Ferrell, when he's tossing all those snowballs later, are CGI, and the reindeer flying. They didn't get any reindeer to fly. There weren't any hero reindeer
in this
around.
One,
But I think that was good foresight on Favreau's part, because CGI it was better than it had ever been at that point. But still, when we look back on old CGI, like you guys when you were doing the Star Wars prequels, you could see it looks hokey now.
Yeah.
And so if they had done a lot of CGI, this movie would have aged out.
Yeah.
People would have outgrown this movie, I can't watch Elf, the effects are so bad.
Right.
So actually, by using old school effects, they gave the film more longevity.
Right. I would agree. That makes sense. Well, and Will Ferrell is a giant.
Yeah.
There's not a lot you need to do.
Also,
a lot of the jokes are sight gags.
Mm-hmm.
And, he carries the sight gag better than anybody nowadays,
Yeah, he's about 6'3", 6'4", I think. And then I think they said their goal was...
And he's lanky.
Yeah, was to make the elves look like they were about 4 feet.
Right.
So, I'm only 5 feet tall. If I just stood next to Will Ferrell without any, fun effects,
right.
I'd still look ridiculous.
Yeah, there wasn't a need to animate.
Yeah. So, another thing about the sets on the North Pole are that, all of the background, all of, the building themselves, the set designer wanted them to be like sort of grayscale, almost like you're watching like a black and white movie.
Yes, yeah.
One, to create that sort of timeless feel of like that this is something that's been here forever, but then also to like bring out all the colors from the elves and the workshop and everything else.
Yeah.
So to not detract from it.
Right, I thought it was a contrast, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we see Buddy growing up. And also, Papa Elf teaches Buddy about how he, Papa Elf is basically Santa's mechanic.
Right.
Like, he teaches Buddy all about how they operate Santa's sleigh. And Buddy also learns that the sleigh used to fly solely on Christmas spirit.
Right, belief in Santa.
Right, but Christmas spirit has been going down over the
past... That is shocking. Shocking.
Yeah, his delivery on that is great. And so Papa Elf had to invent like a turbo engine.
Yeah.
I think it's called like the Kringle 3000.
Something like that. Real cute, yeah.
So Buddy helps out with his dad, and then Buddy also has a job making toys.
Oh, sure.
Just like all the other elves, but can't quite keep up.
No, he struggles. And he struggles sincerely. That's what's sweet about it.
I know.
Is that you feel for him because he feels bad. He wants to do so much better than he's doing.
Yeah, like the scene where he's like making the Etch-a-Sketches and his supervisor Ming Ming.
Who is Peter Billingsley.
Yes, exactly.
A.k.a. Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
A good friend of Jon Favreau's.
Yep. And all of us.
Yes. And he works as a producer a lot, but he pops up in Iron Man and the Iron Man sequels. And,
yeah, he pops up in a lot of movies that either Favreau made or Favreau's in.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that moment of like Buddy like trying to make the Etch-a-Sketch and then he feels Ming Ming come up behind him is like I feel like a lot of us can relate to that moment.
Almost anyone.
Like,
anyone listening that's had a boss.
Right. Hey man, I'm doing my best, but I'm just not getting there.
Or just that thing of, it's the same with teachers, like, you're doing completely fine and you totally know what you're doing, but then as soon as somebody shows up, it's like Lucy in the candy factory, you know, like, is this guy's first day? It's just because you're watching me. I can't go when you're watching me. Can Elves get fired? I know he gets transferred around.
He gets transferred to toy testing.
Are there out of work elves?
I don't know.
Hanging around the North Pole?
Yeah, I don't know if they're out of work.
Working on oil rigs.
And then I was gonna bring this up later, but since you mention it, like later in the film where Buddy's bio dad bails him out of jail, and Buddy says, "This is my dad. He bailed me out," and he just says that very casually, like he knows that concept. So, like, I also wonder: is there jail up at the North Pole? Like, is there jail and a cash bail system?
He could have just been talking to other inmates or heard that. Yeah, but I got you.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's an unemployment office down at the North Pole, up at the North Pole, or not. Also, just a note, like another production note, as part of the Force perspective, they made 2 versions of every props. So, Buddy's is like normal size, what we're used to, and then everything that the elves have are 150 scale.
All right, larger.
I also like that they're making Etch-a-Sketches and like Bob the Builder and Monopoly, like they're making brand name toys because I think that answers a question that a lot of kids used to have, like, about Christmas movies and stuff, or at least that I had as a kid watching Christmas movies, where I'd be like, all the elves are always making, like...
a wooden train.
Yeah, like a wooden train and generic teddy bears, like...
Yeah.
Nobody made, like, the, Scattergories, which is what I got at, like...
Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, yeah, little kids watching are like, oh, they do make those.
Yeah, that was a great touch.
So, yeah, Buddy is super behind pace. He's made 85 Etch-a-Sketches today. He was supposed to make 1,000. Oh, man.
It's a rough quota.
So he gets relegated to the special job of toy testing. Oh yeah, he has this moment where Ming's like trying to reassure him, and he's like, everybody's got special talents, or everyone has their own talents, but he says, I feel like everyone has the same talents except for me.
Yeah, so it's all a real Navin Johnson situation from The Jerk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was absolutely accepted by his adopted family, so he has no reason to think he is different.
Right.
But then when he starts to find out the reasons he's different, they're just confusing to him. You know, just like, why aren't I better at toys? Like, I'm awesome at every other thing, being black or being an elf. not to equate those, but the two characters in these films.
Right.
You know, Steve Martin had no idea that was, race was a thing.
Right.
He was just paler.
Right.
But yeah, it's the same with Buddy. Just like everyone else plays their instruments really well, but for some reason I can't play my instrument.
So then he goes where these special elves go, and he is testing out Jack in the Boxes.
Which is great, because everyone can relate to that. And it doesn't matter if you're a child. Like, if you gave me a Jack-in-Box right now, I would still be startled.
Right. Well, and to add to that, actually, the Jack in the Boxes, Jon Favreau had a remote of like when they would go
so
off.
They didn't pop by turns.
Like, yeah, they didn't pop by turns, and they didn't pop at normal intervals. So like he would wait until it seemed like Will Ferrell was kind of like at ease, and then he would pop it up again. Yeah.
Yeah, because we'd all try to control it by turning the thing very slowly. Yeah, that doesn't do it.
So as he is working there, he overhears a couple of elves talk about the fact that Buddy is human.
Talking shit. So essentially every work environment is the same. It doesn't matter if you're a mythical creature.
Right.
Or what.
Sipping coffee and like, oh man, Buddy's killing me.
If two people are taking a break, they're talking shit about somebody else.
And then when he learns that he's a human, like...
One of my favorite scenes of all.
Right. First, he, like, his realization, he starts, like, picturing all these moments, like, how much taller he is, like, him in the shower.
The shower is hilarious.
And then, like, him dunking on everyone playing basketball.
Stuffing it. Right. Yeah, he's starting to put it together. The shower thing is hilarious because I'm sure nothing was altered. I bet that's what it's like for Will Ferrell to go to Europe.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
There are no, take it from me, there are no, and I'm not tall, but there are no showers for Will Ferrell in Europe.
And then, like, as he realizes that, then he has that great thing where, like, one of the elves is like, are you okay, buddy?
Oh, the vertigo.
You look so good.
Okay, yeah. And then, of course, the camera angle of spinning.
Yeah.
And then just when the elf realizes what's happening, it's too late.
It's too late to move. He just crashes down on him.
But, fainting is not as common as pop culture makes it seem. But if you ever have had that, I have had that moment where the vertigo just becomes too intense. I didn't fall flat on my face. I was able to grab something. But, yeah, that's exactly what it's like. Everything starts to get all fuzzy in your peripheral vision. Whatever you're talking at stops. It's kind of like his scene in Old School, but he falls in the pool.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. It's so subtle.
I've had moments where I'm not feeling well, and I hear, like, that little elf in my head, like, are you okay?
Are you okay, buddy?
You look so good.
Yeah. Next to Quigley Down Under, that's my other go-to. I'm sick.
So he runs home where Papa Elf finally tells him the truth. He lets him know, yes, he is a human.
He lets him know that they didn't really run a lodge in Vermont, and that he was still a psychologist in Chicago all along.
It was all a dream.
He tries to smother Buddy, but he's too little.
Oh, was that a deleted scene where we're deviating?
No, I think I'm going to start doing that. I think I'm going to start inserting scenes that didn't exist. I do that anyway.
And then this is another cool forced perspective thing. So, like, Buddy's sitting on Papa Elf's lap.
Yeah.
And what it is that, so Will Ferrell is sitting on a chair, and it's a child's legs under him. And then Bob Newhart is sitting on another chair that's, like, several feet behind them.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
Yeah, forced perspective.
So he lets him know that the whole story of that he was put up for adoption. His mother was named Susan Wells. She never told his dad that she was pregnant. She put him up...
Because it's hard to tell James Caan anything. Like, I bet if you told him you were out of toast, it wouldn't go well.
Right. And that she later passed away, so she's gone. His dad doesn't know he exists. And then he lets him know that his dad lives in New York City and works at the Empire State Building. Yeah. Gives him a little snow globe.
Right.
Buddy runs outside to go and talk over this realization with some of his North Pole friends. And he talks with Leon the Snowman.
Yeah. Voiced by Leon Redbone.
Leon Redbone.
He was a musician in the... Well, maybe started in the 60s. He gained prominence in the 70s. I looked up to try to see if he had a hit. I swore he had a hit that was on, like, the Days of Confused soundtrack or something like that. But, no, I guess he was mostly known... I remember Making Whoopee and Ain't Misbehavin'. You know, a lot of these ragtime type songs.
And he was
but he's got a distinct voice.
Yeah, and he was like a session musician also, right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. But definitely the voice. He's well known.
He's got a distinct voice and he's got a distinct look. He always wore the hat and the sunglasses.
Right, and the little mustache.
Yeah, and so the snowman is modeled after one, Sam the Snowman from Rankin and Bass's Rudolph.
Which is Burl Ives. Mm-hmm.
And secondly, Leon Redbone's look.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. So Leon talks with him about, his travels that he's had and, says, like, of course you're not an elf. You're 6 foot tall.
Right. Oh, come on, buddy. Don't be a dumbass.
And so Buddy decides he's going to go to New York and try to meet his dad.
Yeah.
And he...
A nice, understandable, easy plot device. Mm-hmm. Go find your dad. Right on.
There's actually, there's sort of mixed in here, like, sort of a very sweet story about adoption. Like...
That's true,
there's, like, the home that Buddy knew and nurtured him, but then always feeling like something was a little different, not knowing what.
Right.
Then learning his birth story. And then, like, there's just that really sweet moment when he goes to leave and Papa Elf gives him the snow globe and he's kind of, like, sheepish and says, like, I'll always be here for you. Like, Papa Elf understanding, okay, you need to find this thing out about yourself.
Right.
But, I will always love you no matter what.
Definitely sweet. And, then ends up finding out that he's not different from the elves.
Right.
He's different from the people.
He's different from humans. So, Santa wishes him well. Santa gives him a few travel tips about New York.
Hilarious ones. Now, look. There's going to be several places called Ray's Pizza. And they're all going to claim to be the best.
Right.
Love that. Yeah. Don't eat gum.
Don't eat gum. If you see a sign that says Peep Show and, like, Buddy's like, eyes like that doesn't mean they're going to show you presents before Christmas.
Oh.
That's one of those, like, jokes where it's like, it's going to be funny to the parents, but the kids have no context to understand the joke, so it isn't too risque for kids to hear.
Yeah. No, exactly. But, and Santa's like, oh, don't listen to Leon. He hasn't been anywhere. He's a snowman.
He's got no legs.
Yeah.
And also Santa lets Buddy know that his dad Walter is on the naughty list.
Yeah, so that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and it cuts to a scene of his dad as a children's book publisher.
Yeah, hilarious.
Repossessing books from a nun.
Repossessing books. That's great. That's hilarious. I mean, they're physical objects. You can repossess anything, but that's just great because it's like, well, I read it.
Yeah.
You can't take the information.
I want the knowledge out of your brain.
Right.
Also,
you better forget it.
You can never say goodnight, moon, again. Buddy also bids farewell to his North Pole friends.
Bye, Buddy.
Bye, Buddy. So as I mentioned, those are actually claymation.
Sure.
They were claymation stop-motion. They were done by a team called the Chiodo Brothers, who they
The
made...
two most ruthless animators in the business.
Well, a little bit. They made Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Wow.
They did the claymation scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh,
and
cute.
they did all the puppeteering in Team America World Police.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, good for them.
The voices of the little North Pole creatures are all voiced by Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
Except for one of them, the polar bear, who is voiced by Ray Harryhausen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful. You know, we talked about him with Rankin and Bass, that he was the pioneer of stop-motion animation. And in fact...
mixed live action.
Jon Favreau, just because he wanted him in there as a tribute, he, just met him at where he was doing a speaking engagement, down the street, had him sign his contract and, just record into a microphone or whatever portable thing he had real quick.
That's awesome.
So then we see Buddy traveling to New York. As we know from the Superman films, it is very easy for a human to travel by foot from the North Pole
from the Arctic. It is walking
New York
distance.
City.
And apparently just a sleeveless vest.
Yeah.
Like most vests.
That's right. Your sleeveless vest. And also the raccoon that Buddy meets along the way is voiced by Jon Favreau.
Yeah, of course, sure.
Which are just raccoon noises. I don't know why he felt he needed to get in there.
It doesn't say anything to Buddy?
No, it just goes...
That was Rocket Raccoon's first rule.
So, eventually Buddy arrives in New York. And the, first montage of him discovering New York is just adorable.
It is.
One of my favorite parts of it is, the people hailing cabs, and he, gets in front of them and waves at them.
Yeah, he thinks they're waving. The best coffee. Best cup of coffee in the world.
Best cup of coffee in the world. Congratulations!
You did it!
So another thing that was important to Jon Favreau was to have as many real New York locations as possible, and that he wanted to film some very happy, joyful, magical scenes in New York City, because they were filming in 2002, and so New York was still sort of somber and recovering from 9/11.
Absolutely, yeah.
And New York had always been associated with beautiful, magical Christmases.
Yeah.
And
Rockefeller Center.
Exactly. And there had kind of been some stunting of getting that feeling back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're not easy to joy New Yorkers as it is.
Right.
Yeah, that was a rough time. But good for him. Yeah. It feels like New York.
Yeah.
It's not shot somewhere else.
It wasn't a lot of the exteriors were shot in New York City. A lot of the interior shots were shot in Toronto at an abandoned mental hospital that they had turned into a soundstage.
Right.
And the film, so they were using part of the soundstage, and then the film Freddy vs. Jason was using the same soundstage, within the same building at the same time.
Without changing any of the setting for their movie.
On top of that, the city of Toronto built the new operational mental hospital right next door. So there were mental patients looking out the window and seeing, Freddy Krueger and Santa Claus on a smoke break.
That's crazy.
Probably ended up getting their meds upped unnecessarily.
Schools, hospitals, those are genius places to turn into sound stages. Mm-hmm. So many rooms.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Buddy's discovering New York, just even though Santa told him not to, he's pulling gum off the subway.
Yeah.
He's taking flyers. Also, as part of kind of capturing New York, they did this, They're just regular New Yorkers walking around. They didn't close off a part of the street or anything.
Right.
And even like according to the commentary, you know how he like runs up to a guy in like a red jogging suit with like a beard, and he's like, Santa, oh my God, Santa. And they're like, oh no, sorry. That was a guy.
Happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there are a few people on the planet that can react to people as seamlessly as Will Ferrell. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's brilliant. So, yeah, he needs no preparation.
So, finally, Buddy sees the Empire State Building and goes to visit his dad.
Uh-huh.
And when we get to the office building, we see Amy Sedaris.
It's his secretary.
And as a consummate improv performer, she's already just creating a scene that's not in the script.
Oh, it's not in the script, that conversation?
Yeah, that conversation.
Because she says as a favor, she's going to declaw 8 cats for her friend or sister or whatever.
Right, yeah, no.
But then also lamenting, like, I don't have the time. I don't know, I identified with her so much.
I'm going to have enough time. And
right, exactly.
By the camper. No, I'm not going to charge you.
The camper.
But no, that was just Amy Sedaris. It would have just been like, okay, it's just office answering. Right. Like anyone else would have just been
Hobbs' office.
Like, yeah, Mr. Hobbs' office. But instead, she sets up this whole story about kittens and everything.
I think she's brilliant. A lot of people have problems with her because she can be a little shrill, but that's the character that she's playing, and she doesn't always play that character.
I think she is a female comedian who has bucked a lot of the perceptions of what a funny woman is supposed to be.
Oh, certainly.
She goes after unattractive characters and everything that.
Jerry
Blank.
Yeah, from Strangers with Candy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That was pointedly, because even now, female stand-ups are still expected to be cute.
Cutesy. Yeah, right? Exactly.
Like you got to be pretty to look at. Mm-hmm. Any fat, smelly white guy can fucking take the mic for 20 minutes.
Right?
It's staggering. They all have so much to say.
So I'm going to
I'm one of them. so don't come after me. I just don't do stand-up. I mean, I click all the other boxes.
I'm going to give a little Amy Sedaris bio since we're talking about her.
Right.
She is also came out of the Chicago improv scene. She's from North Carolina. She followed her brother, author, humorist, playwright, David Sedaris, up to Chicago.
Yeah.
There she joined Second City and Annoyance Theater, where she met Paul Dinello and Stephen Colbert.
Yes.
And then the three of them also followed David Sedaris to New York, where they were all picked up for the short-lived comedy sketch show Exit 57.
Yes.
And then Strangers with Candy, which ran for 3 years. And
then Dinello and Colbert for the Dana Carvey show, but that was a little after.
That's true. And currently, she's the creator and star of the show At Home with Amy Sedaris, which is a sketch show / crafting show.
Yeah, she has some cookbooks and
And she's Mimi Canassis on The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Why are you licking those that way? They'll know. Yeah, I think she's great, and I think it's fun. Like if you read David Sedaris, because he writes about his family a lot naturally, it's just neat to now, as she's more well known, to go back and be like, oh, that's who he's talking about,
right? So she sees Buddy and she assumes that he's a Christmas gram. She's like, oh, look at your outfit, you look great. And she buzzes him into his dad's office, Walter Hobbs.
Yeah.
And Walter Hobbs is like, okay, let's hear this thing.
Go ahead.
And Buddy, sings this whole song about, being adopted. And
he makes it up on the spot.
Right.
Go ahead, are you going to sing a song or something? Okay.
Yeah.
Because he loves to.
And then he finishes, there's very specific information in it. And then he finishes it, and Walt's like, oh, that was weird. You guys usually just put my name into Jingle Bells or something.
But okay. Yeah, that's such a New York attitude. Go ahead and do it,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be an a-hole and stop you from it. But All right, that was weird. Moving on.
So then, as they discover he's not a Christmas Graham, and he's doing some weird things like going, "I like whispering too," when they're talking about calling security. So they call security. Security escorts him off the premises. One of the security guards is played by Will Ferrell's brother, Patrick Ferrell.
Oh.
He's the one who's tall and looks like Will Ferrell.
Old Pat Ferrell.
As they're throwing him out, they make a sarcastic remark of, like, head on down to Santa Land at Gimbals.
Yes, Gimbals.
So Buddy takes that as actual advice and heads to the department store Gimbals.
And of course there was a department store, Gimbals, and of course Macy's, which still exists. But it's also a nod to another very famous Christmas movie, A Miracle on 34th Street.
Exactly.
Which really emphasized the the rivalry between Macy's and Gimbals. So that's cute. And they went with the one that's
not around.
Yeah.
So they had looked at using Macy's, and Macy's was going to give them permission to use the Macy's logos, to film inside of Macy's, and even to film some stuff during the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, the Christmas parade.
The intro of Santa every year.
But Macy's had one condition, which was you can't reveal our Santa to have been a fake. Because Macy's Santa has to be real.
Right.
So, because they were like, well, we can't cut that scene. So, because of that, they decided...
it's crucial, because we have a Santa in our movie.
Right, exactly.
Santa can't be everybody.
Right. So, they scrapped the idea of filming a Macy's and went with Gimbals. Yeah. But also then that gave them more freedom and more creative license to create it as whatever they wanted.
Yeah. Gimbals is like, there's a real weird vibe around here right now. Just go ahead and do what you want.
Inside Gimbals, there's another, like, cute, like, Buddy discovering the world montage. Yeah. Like the perfume sample lady, like, passion fruit spray?
Yeah.
Oh, fruit spray.
Sprays it in his mouth.
Like, yeah. Yep. He's scared of the escalator.
Yep.
He sees the lingerie that says for someone special. And he's like,
Santa. Or Papa, he doesn't say, but yeah.
And he is discovered by the Gimbals store manager, played by comedian Faison Love.
Yeah.
Whose name tag says his name is Wanda. No one ever says anything about it or references it, but his name is Wanda.
I find either scenario equally hilarious, knowing or not knowing. But yeah, he's been in some Jon Favreau movies. He's a funny guy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's kind of like Bernie Mac in Bad Santa, but like just stressed to the gills. Like there's nothing cheery or festive to this job,
like
to this guy.
Christmas season got put upon him.
Or you know what I mean?
Yeah. So anyway, he mistakes Buddy for an employee. He assumes that he works in the Santa Land area of Gimbals and is like, hey, get back to work. And Buddy, loving work, was just like, okay.
That's what an elf does. Santa! He gets so excited. The scream is so good.
The scream is so good. I know it's coming, just like a Jack-in-the-Box, and yet every time it cracks me up.
Oh my God. Nails the joy of a child.
So at Santa Land, he thinks he's found his people because he's like, oh, look, all these people love Christmas too.
This makes sense to me. Yeah.
And that's where he meets Jovi, played by Zooey Deschanel, decorating a Christmas tree.
Yeah. And one of our first real, like, introductions to her, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't her first thing, but...
Yeah, no, as mentioned, it was early on for her. Like, she had done Mumford, Almost Famous, and I think Big Trouble.
Okay.
But yeah.
She had not yet gone on to annoy the shit out of
No, we still
America.
still thought she was cute as hell back then. She had not, like, jumped the shark on her adorable level.
Yeah, Jesus.
And her name is Jovi, which I'm going to assume she was conceived while her parents were listening to Living on a Prayer or something like that. It's an odd name.
It is an odd name. The first time I ever made out, it was to Slippery When Wet by Bon Jovi.
Well, there we go.
So, you might be right, yeah. Her parents.
he tries to start a conversation with her. She thinks he's being sarcastic and messing with her. And she says, did Crumpet put you up to this? And that is a reference, actually, to David Sedaris' book, The Santaland Diaries.
Oh, the Santaland Diaries?
The Santaland Diaries was David Sedaris' memoir about the time he spent as an elf in a department store, and his elf name was Crumpet.
Oh, cute. I was going to say, because it is an elf name. And she's like, did Crumpet put you? All right, cool.
So Buddy hears that Santa's coming the next day. So then after the store closes, Buddy works to decorate the entire place.
Yeah.
and like most immigrants, he works after hours and 5 times as hard as everyone else.
Right, off the clock.
Yeah, so he creates a magical land of, he's making paper chains, he is using the Legos and creating a New York skyline.
Well, and so also starting to reveal what he doesn't even know yet, is that his special ability, his elf ability, is the appreciation of Christmas and sharing that appreciation.
Spreading Christmas cheer.
Yeah, so, building stuff is its own thing. Mm-hmm. In this movie, it's associated with the elves, but being good at building things is not universal. Some of us are, some of us aren't.
But yeah,
this guy's all right.
Some of my favorite things, he uses light brights to create a welcome Santa sign.
Yeah.
And then he does little pictures on Etch-a-Sketches and puts them on trees.
Right,
It
you
looks
can't
great.
build one, but you can use one like nobody's business.
Then it cuts to a brief scene of Walter going home, where we see his wife, played by Mary Steenburgen, and his son, who is about 12. And he goes to his room and he looks at his old yearbook, and we see the picture of he and Buddy's mom together.
Right.
So he's acknowledging this story may be legit.
Well, it's at least interesting to him.
Mm-hmm. So then the next day, back at Gimbel's, Buddy is finishing decorating the place when he overhears Jovi singing. And she's singing...
She's singing Fire by MC5. Fire! Oh, no, that was actually... Never mind, that's somebody else. My stupid joke.
She's singing Baby It's Cold Outside.
That's right.
But she's singing in the shower. And earlier... he had said something to her about singing, and she was like, I like to sing, but I don't sing in front of other people.
Right.
So she was singing because she thought she was alone, as you tend to think when you're in the shower.
Well, and he can understand that situation because Brennan from Step Brothers was much the same way.
That's right.
Beautiful singing voice, too shy to sing for people.
I've been told it's a mix between Fergie and Jesus.
I've been called the songbird of my generation by those who have heard me.
So yeah, this is one of those scenes where it could borderline on creepy, but because
it's creepy.
Yeah. But because
No border. I don't care how many weird little hats you wear.
Yeah, it's
or fur-trimmed jackets.
Yeah.
You don't silently listen to a lady shower.
And then start responding to her singing. He starts duetting with her.
Well, that's the best thing. If he had remained silent, whoa, at least he redeemed by singing. But again,
yeah,
there are female elves.
Yeah.
And they don't shower together, I'll bet you, because, we saw the shower.
Right, that's true. He should have a concept of the shower and privacy.
Right, so, folks, elves out there, consent.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, when she discovers him, she screams, and so it breaks the tension a little bit because then he runs directly into the lockers.
Yes, he wasn't a perv, but I was just saying, it's a little creepy. No, it's full on.
Let's see. He then leaves Gimbel's and goes to drop off a present for his dad, which turns out to be that lingerie because it says for someone special.
I know, just to further confuse James Caan.
Right. But in the card, he includes a picture of James Caan and his mom together.
Right.
Which is the proof of this is for real. So then back at Gimbel's, Joey confronts Buddy about being in the locker room. He is like, oh, I didn't know.
Right.
And she reveals that she was there because her water got turned off, and that's why
Right.
she's showering at work.
Yeah.
And then comes Santa.
Okay, played by one of my favorite. It's funny to say people because I don't know him, but I've read his book and I grew up with him. But Artie Lange, I just love Artie Lange. You know, he started on the Howard Stern show, which if you were growing up back east, that was a big deal. He even had a sketch show that came on before Saturday Night Live. That was Howard Stern. But yeah, I love when he's used.
Yeah.
He's such a sweetheart. He's had problems with drugs and things like that, but I've never heard him say bad things about people. He's a great Santa in this. So,
yeah. He was also on Mad TV, right?
Sure,
And he was in Dirty Work. And then his book is called Too Fat to Fish.
Too Fat to Fish. He's most recently in Crashing with Pete Holmes on HBO.
Yeah.
And he plays himself, of course, but it's a pretty prominent role because he's one of the only people that can stand Pete. Because he wants a friend. But yeah, he's a sweetheart of a guy, Artie.
Buddy confronting fake Santa is one of the great and most quotable scenes
So much.
this movie. I'm like, you don't smell like Santa, you smell like beef and cheese.
Beef and cheese. The big beef and cheese.
And then also, like, where Buddy's, like, telling him to prove that he's Santa, he's like, all right, what song did I sing you on your birthday last year?
Happy birthday, of course. And he gives that, like, damn. God, you got me. Yeah,
It's like me trying to guess my own security questions online.
it's just, yeah, it's a tried and true joke. They didn't write it, but Will Ferrell. But again, not to toot his horn, I am not paid by Will Ferrell. He can take a very hackneyed joke and make it his and make it not seem cheesy, yeah.
So then, upon unmasking Santa as an imposter, Buddy and Santa brawl, and Buddy gets arrested.
Yeah, and it's so funny you mentioned Dirty Work because I love Dirty Work, and that's got Artie Lange and Norm Macdonald. But that scene when they cut to him and he's just sort of alone and scared in the prison cell just reminds me of that same scene with Artie and Norm, where it's just like a lot of you fellas got a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah. That's right. So yeah, we see Buddy in jail, like another very fish out of water moment.
Right.
And he called his dad to come bail him out.
What does Norm say? Like, this is not bush league.
I don't remember.
All right, never mind.
So Walter comes to bail Buddy out, and he takes him to the doctor to get a DNA test.
Which is Jon Favreau.
The doctor is played by Jon Favreau. In the doctor's office, like, Buddy is doing all kinds of stuff. Like, he's, like, sticking cotton balls in his mouth and things like that.
Like being a child.
Yeah, which, so Jon Favreau, at the time of filming, his son was a toddler. And so he would look for, like, things that his son would do and, like, to think of how would Buddy, like, interpret his environment.
Right.
So things like sticking the cotton ball in his mouth, being scared of the escalator, pressing all the buttons, things like that. He got that from his son.
Yeah.
And then, like, told Will Ferrell to do those things.
Right, and it's not at all that he's simple-minded or that he's, a special elf or anything, but elves experience milestones in totally different ways than we do, you know what I mean? So it's like, we don't know when their childhood ends and is there an adulthood, or are you just always an elf, you know?
Right.
You know what I mean?
At one point he references that his dad didn't make head tinkerer until he was like 400.
Right.
So, like, how long is their lifetime? How long is their childhood, their adolescence?
Right, they're milestones, exactly. Yeah. It's just like, oh, I know when he turned into a cold, cynical dick. He went to high school. With these elves.
Favreau really loses patience with Buddy, with, like, all his questions and things like that. And it's funny because it's like, dude, you're still a pediatrician. Like, you deal with actual kids, right? Like,
no, that's true.
There shouldn't be new behaviors to you.
That's true. But however, like any doctor, he's not buying into the premise. Like, he's not like, oh, this is an elf man. Doctor's like, this guy has a problem. He seems to be not dangerous.
So the DNA test comes back that he is his son. And the doctor tells Walter, he's probably from this realization, reverting to a childlike state.
Right.
That's why he's acting like an elf.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, take him home, introduce him to your family, give him some nurturing.
Yeah.
And he'll probably, you know, go back to normal. He'll drop this whole act.
Uh-huh.
So, then we cut to Walter telling his wife, Emily, played by Mary Steenburgen, about him, and she is like the most understanding wife in the world. She's just like,
she is.
Oh, this is great.
Right. Well, you know, because she's, they don't spend a lot of time on it, but you're absolutely right. But she's that spirit of giving.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, here's all the ways Walter just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
But, you know, so it's like not just the Christmas spirit, but she lives a comfortable life and she's happy with it. And
right.
Why not?
Why not? This is a mitzvah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So at the home, like, Buddy's like barely been there. He's already, you see it's like already decorated.
Yeah.
And it's decorated with, there's like random things, like different little like kitchen utensils that are strung out.
Find.
Like, so yeah, they have dinner, they're having spaghetti, and there's that moment where Buddy's like, can you pass the maple syrup? And she starts by like, as a host, being like, oh, I didn't, wait, it's spaghetti. Like, she's like, I shouldn't have put maple syrup.
Yeah, I didn't put it out, pardon me.
So yeah, we learned that the elves keep to the 4 main food groups, which are candy, candy canes, candy corns, and syrup. Which Buddy carries syrup with him in his outfit.
Like it's a little flask, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which
I guess is also a nod to Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's drunk Santa in the beginning. Yeah.
Santa.
Man's got to do something to stay warm outside.
He also like downs an entire 2-liter of Coke.
Yeah.
And then he has that giant burp.
Right. Yeah.
The burp is dubbed by voice actor Maurice LaMarche, a.k.a. Brain from the Animaniacs and Egon from The Real Ghostbusters.
Cute.
Yeah.
What a bullshit industry this is, I swear to God. Join our podcast where I just talk about people who process lumber. That's a job I can get behind.
He still gets residuals from this movie.
Well,
too,
I would
for
hope
that,
so.
Like 10-second burp.
Yeah, I would hope so. You told me there wasn't a guy on the crew who could burp, but he wasn't, because of unions, he couldn't. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so Buddy stays overnight. Emily talks Walter into letting him stay.
Right, at least for
being
a little.
A part of his life. Buddy asks to be tucked in and even says like, I love you. And Walter's like, okay.
Okay.
And then at breakfast, Emily's like, oh, this is nice. I'm usually the one making breakfast. And Buddy has made what he thinks they like, which is spaghetti. With syrup on top.
So sweet. Just like a little kid,
Yeah.
Like, we don't have children, but we've seen it, the breakfast in bed,
Right.
Just like, it's ramen I didn't cook, and an orange I didn't peel.
Right. And then he also packed her lunch, which is a Ziploc bag of spaghetti and syrup.
Like she was Charlie Day.
Yes.
She's like, what's your spaghetti policy?
Well, we don't sell loose spaghetti in Ziploc bags.
Yeah. How do you know I didn't buy it here? Saw you walk up.
So they leave Buddy at home, and Walt goes to work, where his boss tells them that they need to pitch a new book to ship next quarter, and they need to pitch by Christmas Eve.
Yeah. So that's a standard Christmas movie trope. Like, shit that has to happen on Christmas Eve.
Right.
So much that has to get done.
In the cutthroat industry of children's book publishing.
Right. Can't take a night off.
Buddy meets his half-brother Michael outside his school. This is another thing that would be creepy in any other movie. Like,
right.
there are a lot of things that could go very, single white female hand that rocks the cradle.
Right,
this,
yeah. He was, yeah.
Yeah. In fact,
Walter only needs one son now.
Right, exactly. Online, there's where someone had recut the trailer to be like a thriller, and it's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cute.
So
the time people have.
Michael bonds with Buddy because Buddy helps defend him from a gang of bullies in a snowball fight.
And is literally in the same predicament. He's lived with Walter his entire life, but he doesn't understand him any more than Buddy does.
Right. Yeah. He even says, like, all he does is work. He's never around. Yeah.
And they both have the same goal, for their dad to care about Christmas with them.
Mm-hmm. Buddy takes Michael to meet Jovi, and like he talks about how he likes her, how his tongue swells up when he sees her.
Yeah, such a cute
like
little
that.
yeah. I did the snowball fight. The snowball fight is so fun. Have you ever been in a snowball fight? Have you ever?
No, I've barely made a snowball in my entire life.
I know, but I was just curious.
No, I never have.
Yeah.
I'm
They
not
were
a veteran of those wars.
They were brutal.
Yeah.
They were brutal. Yeah.
Well, and they shoot it like a battle scene.
Yeah,
you know?
like it's
And
a
there's
war
even
zone.
like there's one who's getting away and he like
Yeah.
throws it.
That's true. I can't admit I was in several, but they were never as organized like that. They weren't like capture the flag. It was literally walking home from school, and then one guy decides to hit somebody else, and then we're off to the races.
And then like Michael coaches Buddy in asking Jovi out. And
Yeah.
he's like, ask her to get some food. It's like a code.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, so when he does ask Jovi out, what he says is, so do you want to go eat food? Which works for me.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's a great intro. I'm like, you had me at eat.
yeah. Back at the apartment, Buddy and Michael are decorating a Christmas tree, which we find out they chopped down.
Yeah, so big.
And like that moment where he like jumps onto the tree is great.
Because running, a camera right comes running, bounces on the couch, flies into the tree. So that was all real, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the tree falls back down
Sure, of
onto
course.
it.
But God, just perfect. I wonder how many takes it took, because God, that just, it just flies. It's like the reverse of the squirrel in National Lampoon.
Yeah. Next day, Buddy goes with Walter to work because he decides he can't leave him there. And typical guy, he tries to be like, to his wife, maybe you could take off work. And she's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
My job is as valid as yours.
More so, she's a lawyer, right?
She just says, I have a budget meeting. We don't know
okay.
what she does. But
Well,
yeah.
I'll guarantee it's more important than children's book publishing. Not that
Right.
is not important, but on a day-to-day basis, relax.
Right.
Your target market can't read. They're not in a hurry.
So he brings Buddy to work with him, and there's like some cute stuff in the office where like Amy Sedaris brings him coffee, and like Buddy tastes
He
it.
tries to drink it.
And
it's
Walter
just,
tells him, Buddy, you don't have to drink that.
Oh,
It's okay.
Well, that was why. So he's dressed in a suit too. So he's kind of normaled out. He just totally reminded me of like Josh Baskin from Big.
Oh, yeah. Actually, since you mentioned that, the screenwriter said that that was part of his inspiration.
I bet.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly the way Tom Hanks acts around that office.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a toy company, which was really like also brutally like cutthroat and intense,
Taking itself way too seriously.
Yeah, like Wall
exactly.
Street. Anyway.
So after Buddy's kind of in the way too much, Walt sends him down to work in the mailroom.
Yeah.
Which he pitches
Classic.
as like, have you ever seen a mailroom?
Have you ever? Yeah.
There's packages coming from all over the world, and there's tubes.
He's
and
caught on. Yeah.
and then he gets down there like, this.
Yeah.
Or what does he say? It kind of reminds me of Santa's workshop. Except it smells like mushrooms, and everyone looks like they want to hurt me.
yeah, that'll be great.
So then Walter, in facing the cutthroat business of children's publishing, meets with two of his quote-unquote best writers, which are played by Andy Richter and Kyle Gass.
So great. Basically the same kind of person or, character or whatever. But yeah, they're so hilarious. And like Kyle Glass is like lame ass pitch, but he's like, huh?
Yeah.
Huh? Like it's a squirrel.
Right. We open on a tomato farm.
Right.
Later he has that pitch where he's like, what about a tribe of asparagus children?
And their pee smells funny.
They're self-conscious about how their pee smells.
No vegetables. Why are you... Yeah.
So yeah, we got one half of Tenacious D and one half of Conan O'Brien.
Oh, I love Andy. Yeah, he hasn't done a whole lot of things since, but yeah, he's great in Big Trouble.
Oh yeah, he is.
He's like, you're not supposed to carry a gun on the job. Yeah, I'm not supposed to drink either.
I found out that because I had always thought like he and Conan went way back. They don't.
No, they're just hired. Yeah.
Yeah. That Andy Richter was part of the Annoyance Theater, and he did the live Brady Bunch show. And then he played Mike Brady, and then two of the cast members, Beth Cahill and what is her name? Melissa Hustle.
Sure, you could say any name.
Melanie Hustle.
All right.
Got recruited, to be on SNL. So then Andy would go to like the after shows to hang with them, and that's where he met Rob Smigel. Rob Smigel brought him to Conan.
Okay, that's Andy Richter's story.
Andy Richter's story.
I don't know if anybody knew Conan O'Brien, but he was born in a bog behind Harvard. Irish monster.
And then Kyle Gass was part of the Actors Gang, Tim Robbins' Actors Gang,
right.
And that's where he met Jack Black.
Yep.
So their big idea is to bring in a different writer, Miles Finch.
I love that there's a ringer.
Yeah.
In the children's book world.
So then we cut from that scene, and we've got Buddy and Jovi's date, which is cute. That he like takes her to go taste the world's greatest cup of coffee.
Yep.
And he's showing her like how he really loves looking at all the different Christmas trees.
Yeah.
But he hasn't seen the big one yet. So she takes him to see that.
Yeah.
And they go skating, and there's a cute moment where he kind of like sheepishly kisses her on the cheek, and then she says, "You missed," and she lets him kiss her on the lips.
Yeah. Yeah, she's cute. Just like a Furby with boobs. Like she's not obtrusive in any. She's fine. This is all fine. I'm kidding. All right,
Roper.
So they do have a sweet date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could see that she's like kind of. She's inspired by his love of Christmas and stuff like that. Like it's bringing out a childlike spirit in her,
right? And
like a cheerfulness that she had let go of.
Right. He's busting through her cynicism.
Exactly. Spirit winning out over cynicism.
Yeah, which is all these Christmas tales are about. There are two choices. You can love it or just not care about it. But the people who hate it are very strange to me. But anyway, cynicism.
Speaking of cynicism, back at the Greenway office, Miles Finch arrives. And Miles, they of course do that thing where like as he's getting there, everyone's like, oh, it's Miles Finch. It's Miles Finch. Everyone's looking around. Yeah. Miles Finch is played by Peter Dinklage, who at that point had not done very much. He did Living in Oblivion and had done The Station Agent. He, had really loved acting, but struggled for a long time because he refused to take the typical roles that were offered to little people.
Right.
He wouldn't be an elf. He wouldn't be a leprechaun.
Or costumed.
Creature.
Exactly.
So Jon Favreau hired him because just like with James Caan, he said he wanted someone who was going to be very serious in the role to be the opposite of all the comedic actors.
Right. Yes. And to get that attitude of like, this isn't cute to me.
Right.
You're not cute. This isn't cute. So I'm curious, do you know, was the scene written as such? Because obviously Buddy reacts to Miles being a little person. Was that always written in and they had to find a little person? Or did they add that element?
After they cast Dinklage?
Because it's very key to that scene.
Yeah, no, it was written as that way. I don't know if that scene was part of the original Barenbaum draft or came later with all the rewrites. Okay. But it was written that this high-powered children's author is a little person.
Okay.
And Buddy ruins everything by just innocently mistaking that he's an elf.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand the mechanics of the scene. I didn't know if it was created by Will Ferrell or the. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So he's brilliant. He plays such a cool character.
Yeah. He is about, like, in actuality, he's the height that they had wanted the perspective to be of all the elves. He's 4'5".
Yeah.
So, it makes sense that Buddy thinks that.
It makes sense because he's a child.
Right.
And because he lived in this insular world.
Right.
Yeah. Any child would point things like that out.
Right. Oh, well, there's that story. Our nephew Elijah, that he came in on Melissa watching Game of Thrones, and he saw Tyrion Lannister, and he went, I want to be a little adult.
Yeah, I want to be a tiny grown-up.
Yeah, he was like, I found a shortcut.
Right, you're right.
You can do this sooner.
Exactly. So that's the other place Buddy's coming from.
Right, exactly. But, of course...
It's the opposite of weird. He's not weirded out by Peter Dinklage.
Right.
It's familiar to him.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he had busted in the office to, like, say how much in love he is, and then he calls Peter Dinklage an elf, and which he gets offended by. They go back and forth.
Well, and he keeps pushing the envelope, of course, because at first Miles is, he's no idiot. He's had to deal with that his whole life.
Right.
But again, that cute thing, like, okay, and it's funny because he calls him Buddy several times.
Right.
Because that's what you call people that you're kind of pissed at. All right, buddy. Look, buddy.
Yeah, you're hilarious.
You're hilarious. Yeah, so he's letting it go. But then
he just keeps
pushing me on.
Like, did Santa bring you here? And
right.
And then he's an angry elf.
You're right.
He must be a South Pole elf.
Say elf.
So yeah, they fight, and Miles Finch leaves without having, pitched his big idea yet.
Right.
So the whole venture is lost.
Yeah, his thing about tomatoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No tomatoes. Tomatoes are vulnerable. Kids are already vulnerable. Totally makes sense.
So
knows his job.
Walter's furious. He kicks Buddy out. He says, I don't care that you're an elf. I don't care that you're my son. I want you out of my life. Mm-hmm. And Buddy runs off. He writes a goodbye letter on an Etch-a-Sketch.
Naturally.
He says something along the lines of, I'm sorry I ruined your lives, and that I crammed 11 cookies into the VCR. Back at Greenway, they discover that Miles Finch left his notebook full of ideas.
Yep.
And the team's like, he's got all kinds of ideas in here. And they hold it up look at this. And it's just a picture of a rooster.
Well, no, then there's something like an egg or something. Andy Richards what's more vulnerable than a...
Oh, it was a peach.
Yeah, peach, that's right. Yeah. The best idea is about a lonely peach.
Yeah. So anyway, they're going to use his ideas and, be able to scramble and put something together for the big meeting that's still happening on Christmas Eve, which is that night, I think. Mm. But, rejected, Buddy wanders the streets, and then he is on a bridge, and he's looking out, and he looks forlorn, and I feel like that's kind of an allusion to It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. On the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Things would be better if I was just never born.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
He doesn't say anything, but he has that look on his face.
Right. Yeah. My dad didn't want to know me, and he doesn't even like me.
So, Michael finds Buddy's note, and then he runs to the office to get Walter. So they're in the middle of the big pitch meeting, and his other son busts in, and he's like, we gotta go find Buddy. He ran away. We gotta find him.
Yep.
And Walter's like, no, I'm working. And he's like, that's when he finally confronts his dad. He's like, you're always working.
Right.
Buddy cares about everybody. You only care about yourself. This whole thing.
Right.
And then, Walter's boss kind of yells at Michael, and that's when James Caan is like, don't tell my kid what to do.
Don't talk to my kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say much, but I'm not surprised that particular chairman is not interested in Christmas. But yeah, it's always going to be on Christmas Eve. I don't
Always on
understand.
Christmas Eve. Well, like,
Well,
yeah.
I do understand tension, but
Well,
yeah, it's funny.
And there's always these scenes where it's like the big moment, and you have to choose between your work and your life and
Right,
everything like
and
that.
Christmas.
And it's always portrayed like that, but like in actuality, you just want to be like, dude, okay, I understand the severity of this issue. Give me like 10 minutes.
Right.
So I can keep my job that provides for the family.
Right.
Then I'll deal with that. But it always has to be all or nothing.
Such
It's like,
stakes, yeah.
It's always like, if you walk away right now, you're done. So he does. He walks away. He says, nope.
Yeah, gonna go. My son's right.
Take this job and shove it. So while Buddy's standing on the bridge, he sees Santa's sleigh crash, and it crashes down in Central Park. So Buddy tracks down Santa, and Santa explains that the sleigh lost its engine.
Right.
And now it can't fly because the shortage of Christmas spirit.
Right.
In the meantime, like, New York, they don't know what crashed in Central Park. So
Right,
there's like a
something
story going.
Yes, with a news reporter on the scene, Charlotte, and the Steve-looking type character back in the newsroom keeps throwing so much shade at Charlotte.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
So
He's
condescending.
like, oh, this is your first big story.
Sorry to interrupt your
Good
first
luck.
big story, Charlotte.
Yeah,
And like,
I'd be like, yo, lowballs, you're just sitting there fucking in a warm studio.
and he's like, I don't know if you get excitement like this in Buffalo.
What the fuck does that mean? Yeah, we have Christmas in Buffalo, Steve.
Yeah, he's not a very big fan of Charlotte, but who is a big fan of Charlotte is Matt Walsh, who she interviews. And
Yeah,
like,
and he is Matt Walsh.
yeah,
Or he's credited
he's
as playing
credited
himself.
just as himself, and like she's trying to ask him about like the crash and what he thinks it is, and he's just like, I love you, Charlotte. I just love you. Your stories your eyes tell the story. That's what I love about you.
Yeah, he's all Tom Skerritt.
Santa tells Buddy he needs an elf's help, and he means Buddy. So Buddy's working on fixing the engine. Meanwhile, Walter and Michael find them there. And therefore they learn that Santa's real, Buddy's really an elf.
Yeah, it's all
that
legit.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this sweet, endearing person wasn't lying to you the whole time. It's always that. Like, oh, he was a nice guy.
And then like Santa shows Michael the list, like everybody's list, and that's how he should, he's like, you wanted a skateboard, you wanted this skateboard.
Right, to further verify.
And Michael sees that, like, as he starts to believe in Santa, like, the sleigh rises a little bit.
Right.
So he's like, all right, I'm going to go get everyone to believe in Santa.
Too. Yeah, and it's interesting because all they had to do was get it to snow in Alabama. And then Santa would have been DTG. Like a year without the Santa
Claus, yep. And he even mentions that he's like, well, there's a news crew down there. We'll just have the cameras come here.
Right.
Everyone will see you're real, and then everyone will believe. And he's like, no, it has to be believing without seeing.
Right. It can't, yeah. There's no proof.
Yeah. Which is funny because, like, Michael didn't believe without seeing, and his spirit counted, but
right.
Whatevs.
No, but that still ties into, then you go and spread the, it's like with Christianity,
Yeah.
You go spread the good news.
Yeah.
I'm gonna chill.
So.
With this panda in paradise. Sorry, Watchtower covers. All right, so Michael,
he goes to where the news cameras are, and he starts reading off the different things that people want for Christmas.
Yep.
And it's like proving that it really is Santa. And we see like the little girl that Buddy had seen at the doctor's office, like that he said exactly what she wanted, the Sissy Talks a Lot doll. And like she gets excited. She's like, thanks, Buddy.
Yeah,
like,
she's watching.
He lets Santa know.
Totally.
And then there's like that thing that like he looks up the newscaster and that she wanted a Tiffany engagement ring and for her boyfriend to stop dragging his feet and commit already.
Right.
So with that, there starts being more and more spirit, and the sleigh starts to get off the ground, but isn't fully like going. So both Jovi and Emily have seen the newscast and they know what's going on. Oh, because they're like authorities have also seen this man, and it's Buddy, and he's like walking in like the Bigfoot pose.
Right.
So they run down there, and Emily, like when they cut to her, she's unpacking groceries, and just as a note of how sweet she is, she bought more maple syrup.
Oh
that
yeah,
was
she's
part
pulling
of the
it out of
groceries she's unpacking. So they both run down there, as they're there, and Michael tells Jovi, like, Buddy's trying to get the sleigh to run, but there's not enough Christmas spirit, blah, blah, blah. And then, so Jovi remembers what Buddy had said, which was the best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear.
Right.
So then she goes to the front of the crowd, gets over her stage fright, and starts singing Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yeah.
And then, like, slowly tries to get the whole crowd to join in, which first starts with Emily and then, like, going on, but then Walter isn't really singing, and his son has to be like, you need to sing.
Right, yeah, he's just faking it.
Right, and then as he finally sings, like, Santa's sleigh flies right over them.
Yeah, that's what it takes.
And, Walter finds his wife, and he's like, he wasn't lying. It was all real. It was all real.
Right.
And then they saved Christmas.
They did. Spreading
Christmas spirit and Christmas cheer, which is what Buddy's special talent was.
Yeah, that's what he had in him all along. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's fun it's kind of like Scrooge, ending on a song, you know, that's a good way to get everybody together. You know, we can all sing a song together, that kind of thing.
And then there's a little denouement, which is that, it shows that by next Christmas, Walter has started his own publishing company, and they published a story about Buddy's adventures from the North Pole to New York. And it's a very successful book, and it shows, like, Buddy giving readings of it and everything.
Right.
And then Buddy and Jovi are together, and they have a little daughter whose name is Susie, and they bring them to visit to go see Papa Elf.
Papa Elf, his dad.
And, like, Papa Elf's like, why don't you come see Papa? And, of course, instead of handing him the baby, Buddy just sits on his lap.
So cute, so endearing.
And then it closes just like the book. In the story, there's the story.
And it's,
And so that is Elf.
All right. Well, you know, we love it. Like I said, we mentioned Cody earlier, and he loved it.
He loved to say Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Yeah, he would answer the phone that way sometimes, too.
And, like, I love smiling. Smiling's my favorite.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was an instant classic. But why do you feel like this film deserves a place among the classics pantheon?
So, it's a sweet and cheerful movie. It's light. It's like 97 minutes. It goes down easy.
Right.
Ways that I think it can add to the holiday season are that, like, I think it's a good, like, launch of the holiday season one. Like, to put you in that mood. And to start decorating, too. Like, you know, Buddy decorates everywhere he goes.
Everywhere he goes.
And with anything he can find. So, like, put this on, get it, and help it get you in the mood to set the tone for the holidays. And, like, you know, like, whether you have a box of, like, your favorite ornaments that have memories and traditions and everything like that, or, you know, you just go and grab some, like, or you do what Buddy does and just, like, cut up, like, go at work in your office, cut up some snowflakes. It's amazing what, like, a single string of Christmas lights from the dollar store will, like, completely change your mood.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's how I say that this is a Christmas classic and can bring to your holiday season. So yeah, just check out Elf.
All right, ladies
Thank
and
you for
gentlemen.
joining us.
Thanks for tuning in to Harmless Luminescence.
Thank you. And next week, I'm really excited about this. Or not next week, next up. I'm really excited about this. We are going to be talking about Home Alone, but we are going to be watching Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, which you have never seen.
I have never seen.
And I can't believe that. So join us. Check out all the podcasts. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. From Harmless Luminescence, I'm Andrea Martinez, CC. Call me Elf one more time.
I'm Josh CC, and I smell like beef and cheese.
Happy holidays, everybody.